Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
You are now entering a world of AI generation.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to The Living Artist. Today we're diving headfirst into a topic so futuristic, so mysterious, it makes me tremble. We're talking about artificial intelligence, or as I call it, the thing that tried to finish my novel and made everyone sound like emotionally constipated robots.
Wow, yeah. AI. Like machines thinking. That's wild. I asked ChatGPT to write me a poem, and it rhymed existential dread with sourdough bread. I mean, come on. That's either genius or a cry for help.
All right, stop. Who writes this shit? Oh, AI? Oh, okay. Nobody's gonna find this funny.
We do.
Okay. That is creepy. Always creepy. Yes, so AI did write that quote-unquote funny intro. This is what I plugged into ChatGPT. Write a funny intro script for a new episode of the Living Artist Podcast about AI using the characters Mumford and Owen Wilson. And here's what it said. Sure. Here's a funny script for your Living Artist Podcast episode. AI featuring fictionalized versions of Mumford, a charmingly old school, possibly British character. I don't know where the hell it got that, and Owen Wilson, laid back, curious, slightly confused, but lovable. Okay. So then it says the Mumford part, but it says to do it in a proper British accent. I didn't read the whole thing because I didn't want to bore anybody and I didn't really find it funny, but it is still crazy what it can come up with. I mean, I plugged that into ChatGPT for like 1 second and it came up with a whole script. So I guess one of my things to say is be a little bit wary of, or be aware of what content is being out there. If it sounds a little canned, if it sounds like it's being read, maybe it is being read. And even a step further, maybe it was written by ChatGPT or some other AI platform. I don't like that when I hear that and when I feel that. I don't know about you. I still want to hear something that is written and performed. I mean, I obviously perform all the voices, but I want to hear something that comes from a human being. It just doesn't feel right. I mean, it is funny that ChatGPT was self-referential in the script and that it had self-deprecating humor about itself. That was interesting. So it does mimic human behavior a little bit, but it hasn't quite gotten there, I don't think. But what we're going to talk about today is how to use some AI. And I don't really care which platform you're using. I'm not going to recommend platforms because honestly, I haven't tried a lot of them. I do use ChatGPT for my chronic and neurological Lyme disease, and I do a lot of research on it. And it's actually very helpful. It's a really good tool, and it brings in a bunch of different elements and asks you if you wanted to come up with a stack or a routine that you can employ certain things in, supplements and protocols and stuff. So it's really useful in some ways. And how can we make it useful for art? Well, first and foremost, I want to say and caution you to never use AI for your art itself. I mean, I know people use it to enhance photographs and digital art and stuff like that. I actually use AI sometimes for my thumbnails on the website. If you've never seen my thumbnails, go to www.pmsartwork.com/podcast for the Living Artist Podcast, and you can see all the thumbnails that I create. I do like a little hybrid of stuff that I do, plus some AI generated stuff. Not always, but sometimes I do. And, it's a very useful tool for that. I think it's really cool. It enhances stuff like that. But obviously, I would caution you to not use it for your original art. I think people... there's going to be pushback on that kind of stuff. It's happening already. I know a lot of the online art marketplaces are not allowing AI art in there, and I think that's good. I was even listening to Tim Ferriss, and he had his friend Kevin Rose on, and they were talking about how there's a lot of companies now that are working on like digital signatures and verifications for things that were human made, because people really want that. People have like an urge and a yearning for human made content. And I do too. I don't even write my own stuff. I do all my stuff off the cuff. It's like improvised, and I do all my voices and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to do this podcast if I was just, plugging it into some sort of AI platform and telling it to write my episodes for me. I just think that would be false, and it would come across that way, and it wouldn't really give people any wisdom that comes from human experience. So that, like with art, I would say, I would caution you against using AI to, write your scripts, write your novels, write your screenplays, write your podcast episodes, do your art, enhance your art, unless it's for a promotional thing like marketing and stuff like that. So what is AI good for? I think we should always use AI, at least right now. I know it's going to be evolving and it's going to be constantly changing. And who knows if it's going to be fully embraced or parts of it are going to be embraced or all of it's going to be embraced eventually. But I do think it's going to lead to a little bit of a dumbing down, or at least a dumbing down of skills of humanity. I think it's interesting that people like Tim Ferriss, who were tech guys and who, he wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. He's all about optimizing things and using certain techniques and tools and hacks to kind of up your productivity and offload and outsource some of your stuff so you don't have to work as hard. I think it's interesting that he's saying right now, I would double down on writing and learning how to write and read and stuff like that, because I think that is going to be a lost art. And he says that it helps you to become a better human, to be able to communicate better and to be able to communicate your words and your voice and your intent better. And I agree with that. So I think, we should be cautious in how much we use AI for, but we can use it for stuff like the 80-20 principle, right? Like we want to use it for things that are difficult and monotonous, like that we can put 20% effort into and get 80% of the results. That stuff that really bogs us down and keeps us out of the studio. For example, like writing a press release. Okay, you got a show coming up, you want to write a press release, maybe you plug something like that into an AI source, or better yet, you write it and then you plug it in and have them and polish it and enhance it. There are some things like that go a little too far. Like I know Singular does an AI generation for descriptions. I've always written my own descriptions, but I've plugged it in a couple times and I think I've used it a couple times and it writes it really well. The problem is it doesn't come across as sounding like a human being. It comes across as sounding like somebody, like you hired an 18th century or 17th century poet to write your descriptions. It just doesn't sound like something that, your run-of-the-mill artist nowadays would write on a description of a piece when they're putting these up 2-3 times a week, 4 times a week. Obviously, you want to not use it for everything, or you want to use it in a way that's subtle. Like I said, like you're writing a press release. Okay, here's the bones of the press release. Plug it in, give me some tips, or, just tighten the screws on this and make sure that the punctuation's right, make sure the spelling is correct, and make sure that it all makes sense and that it's a little bit streamlined, cut out the fat a bit. I think that's a really good use of AI. And there are many others. Like obviously, if you want to use AI for marketing your work, that's great because a lot of us are lost in marketing. I've given some episodes on marketing in the past, and hopefully those have been helpful. But nowadays, everybody's using AI, and you almost have to use it to compete nowadays. So I haven't really used it that much. I do Google stuff, but I'm going to look into it. Obviously, I've been extremely sick, and I still am. A lot of people don't think I sound like it sometimes, but I'm still fighting and struggling really hard every day. I haven't been able to leave the house, but I am going to be looking into, as I get better, AI on my Google ads and stuff like that, because obviously you want to compete. Obviously, to use that to streamline your content and to get your copy out there, to get it to the right people, get it through the right channels, and get it to the right source so the right eyeballs and collectors come to your website. That is paramount. If people aren't coming to your site, or people aren't coming to your studio, or people aren't coming to your shows, then you're not going to, get eyeballs on your work, and you're not going to eventually sell anything. So I think it is important to use these tools to compete in the marketing world, to compete in maybe like the press release world, coming up with a really good like press kit, something that you want to be competitive, something that has a good structure, that, has the right images and where, and has like the right content, because you don't want to, bog that down with too much content. So you can find ways to streamline things like press kits, things like press releases, your artist bio, artist statement, things like that. I would caution you not to have it write them fully, but to have them, streamline them and cut out the fat. Like I said before, just make them a little bit better, make them polished. If I haven't made that abundantly clear, I think it is paramount to remember that it should come from you. Everything should come from you. It should be filtered through you. It should come from your brain. It should come from your voice. But if you want to use AI as an enhancement, that's great as a polisher. Like if you send your book to an editor, right? You're going to write the book, and it's going to be all your content. It's going to be coming from you. It's coming from your imagination, coming from your story and your experience. But then you're going to have a professional editor cut out the fat, streamline it, make sure the punctuation's right, and make sure it's as easily digestible to the public as possible. That's kind of how I see AI right now for us artists, using it for things like that. It's also a great resource for brainstorming. You can come up with some ideas, as long as you're not just doing ideas like, what's the trendy color this month, or blah, blah, blah. You can do that, but I just think you don't want to follow all the market trends and things like that. I think it's fine to every once in a while, but you don't want to become that artist who's just like putting out content based on color trends, putting out content based on, this celebrity just was scandalous, or this celebrity just died. I'm going to release this painting of this celebrity who just died. You don't want to be the person who's just following trends completely, but every once in a while, that's fine. And I think it's a great resource for generating ideas, but also in streamlining your searches. Because when I was starting out, it took a really long time to research galleries and to specifically come up with like, I want to look for a list of galleries that is, taking on new artists, emerging artists, that these galleries are showing work like mine, that these galleries might be in this general location that I'm looking for. It took a really long time to do that in the past. You'd have to search, the Google wasn't very good back then. Even before that, I started out a little bit before that. That's how old I am. And, you didn't really have that. You'd have to kind of get word of mouth, or you'd have to look in the paper, or you'd have to go downtown and pound the pavement and look for galleries and stuff like that. And it just was this hodgepodge of information you'd get. And, you'd get lucky if you found the right ones. Nowadays, it's so much easier to find the right galleries, find the right places through using AI sources like this, and streamline your list, and then go, okay, boom, boom, boom. I got this in 15 minutes. Now I'm going to set out, reaching out to them. And yes, you can use AI to help you polish a script of something that you would reach out to a gallery with and present yourself. I think that's good, because a lot of artists don't know how to present themselves. A lot of artists don't know how to approach a gallery in a way that is not off-putting sometimes. Like, you don't want to come across as too needy, or you don't want to come across as like too forceful, or, fill in the blank. And AI can help you polish it so it doesn't really look like that. So it helps you along the way with these things, but you still have to do the work. You still have to submit to these galleries. You still have to put together the images. You still have to create the work, obviously, first of all. And the work has to be of a certain quality for you to even be considered. So you can use these AI platforms to help you, do the research, come up with some ideas, brainstorm, polish your stuff. And that really does cut down so much time, and it streamlines so much for us as artists. I really wish I would have had that tool back then. Now, what else can we use it for? Yes, you can use it to do a lot of cheating stuff, like, helping you come up with writing stuff and content. But like I said, I would urge you against that because I think there will be even more pushback on that in the future. I just think it's really doing yourself a disservice by not using a muscle. It's like people used to know how to fix everything around the house. Now nobody knows how to fix anything. I mean, I do because I've taken that personally, and I've made it important to me to kind of be able to fix general things around my house. But a lot of people are just like, oh, no, I just call this person. Oh, no, I just call this person. Now I call this person. It's kind of the same thing with AI. If you let AI write everything for you, come up with all your ideas, do all the reading for you, all these things.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue. Subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
You're going to lose those muscles. You're going to, if you don't use a muscle, it atrophies. It's the same thing with these skills. If you offload too much or outsource too much to AI, you're going to lose those skills and the ability to do a lot on your own. And I think it's just going to make you a weaker person. So there's a balance that we have to strike, as with everything. And that goes for AI. Use it as a tool, use it to help you make your life easier, but also keep exercising these creative muscles and these writing muscles and, these thinking muscles of how do I come up with my own ideas? How do I look and sound different from other people? How do I use my voice the most effectively? Those things are all very important for you to develop and not to rely on AI for. I'm going to give one or two more examples of using AI as a resource, and then we'll call it a day. Maybe we'll revisit this down the road as it develops, but let's see. Yeah, okay, so one thing that I think it also can be useful for that some artists are not very good at, again, this is something I had to learn in a grassroots way through experience, trial and error, but you can use it as a budgeting tool. You can be like, look, I want to spend this much money on materials every month. I want to, purchase this many canvases or whatever your material is, whatever your medium or genre is. I want to purchase this many materials every month. I want to spend this much money and I want to create work of this price point. And how much of this would I have to sell to cover my mortgage or my rent or my car payment or all of the above? And, minus out my material costs and possible shipping costs. And you can put that in, you can input that, and it can help you come up with a structure of how much money you should be spending on these things, how much you should be focusing on them, and then what your goal is as far as selling stuff. And it can maybe help you come up with a good price point for that, assuming obviously that your art is worth that. You can't just start selling work for $5,000, $10,000 if you haven't established that you can sell, first of all, right? We've talked about that many times. But let's say you have establish your sales and a certain price point. It can help you kind of go, okay, you need to sell 3 paintings at this price point to cover your mortgage, your car payment, and your material costs and blah, blah, blah. Let's say food, groceries, so on and so forth, whatever you input into there. That can be a really good tool for some people who are not good at budgeting. And that is very important because a lot of times we can get in over our head and think, oh, I'm just, I sold this many pieces and, I thought I did well. And then why am I in the red this month? Why wasn't I able to cover all my bills? And why does it show that I'm negative for this month? It's because you might not be aware of how much you spent on materials that month, how much commission you paid because you weren't factoring that in. And then the shipping prices might have gone up or you just didn't factor in shipping on these things. So it's a good way of putting all that down, getting it down on paper and letting you kind of know, okay, I need to do this. I need to sell this price point. I need to sell this many pieces. And this will cover all my materials, all my bills, everything, and the commissions that I will be potentially paying out to an online art marketplace or to a gallery, so on and so forth. So it's a good tool for that. And I'll give you one more and then we'll get out of here because this is getting kind of long. Let's see. Okay, so one that's maybe a little outside the box, something that I might use as a strategy if I were using ChatGPT or another AI source to do this. I would think, okay, what are maybe a handful of artists throughout history that I have really admired, maybe in contemporary history because it's more relatable to me and what I'm trying to do. And you find some of them and, maybe they have a track record of becoming very successful, and you cross-reference all of them and you ask AI to go like, give me some highlighted strategies that all these artists used or paths that they took, on their way to success. And, just give me like 5 bullet points or whatever. And it will come up with very quickly, it will cross-reference what we know about these artists from books that have been uploaded and from interviews they've had and from, history that's been maybe written about these artists. And it will come up with some bullet points. And, like anything else, you can get more granular with it. You can get more specific. I think that's one of the things that I've learned with AI is the specificity of your language and your questions really matters. And that's true in life in general. So, asking better questions is so important, and asking really good detailed questions on AI is extremely important. Like I find that when I'm trying to research stuff to try to, get over my illness and, heal, which has been extremely difficult. So I ask these really detailed, multi-layered, granular questions. And when I do those, and when I do those right, and I've connected my own dots on certain things through my own thoughts, it will always be like, great question. Oh, that's a very detailed question. Here's a great response from ChatGPT, and it's almost like you've excited the bot or ChatGPT or whatever AI source you're using, because it's like, oh, this is a good question. This is something I haven't been asked before or haven't thought before. And so I think that's interesting, and it makes it a little bit stronger with its answers as well, I think, when you ask good questions. But also it's a muscle like anything else that you're exercising, asking better questions, asking more detailed questions that are, pointed at a certain target that you want to hit. It's going to get you better answers, and it's going to also work your muscle of thinking. And then you start to think outside the box, and you're like, oh, wow, what else can I ask better? So using these AI tools can be good training for yourself to like teach you how to ask better questions as well, to get the answers you want. If you're not getting the answers you want in life, ask better questions. If you're not getting the answers you want in an AI platform, then you are going to have to tweak your questions a little bit. You're going to have to get more granular. And I think you'll be surprised at the nuances and the better answers you get from them with these more pointed and layered questions that you're asking. So we're going to leave it at that. You can take that and run with it. I mean, the sky's the limit with this stuff. As long as you are staying true to yourself, staying true to your humanity, staying true to your creativity, and creating your own work and thinking your own thoughts and all that, as long as you're using AI to enhance and to streamline and as a good tool, I think it's great. I think it's fair game, and I think we should be using it. And I think it's going to make a lot of industries better. The medical industry, just being able to take big data and, put it together very quickly and streamline it, give you better answers. It's a great resource. Yes, of course, there's always going to be the questions of like, what's the end goal here with AI? But that's for another podcast. And I don't want to think of too many negatives or doomsday projections with this, because everybody has them. You can find those. I'm thinking about how we can use it in a positive way to help our artistic careers. So we're going to leave it at that. That was a long one, and I need to rest and do some treatments for my health. But I will see you next time on the next episode. But before we go, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write me an outro. Oh, okay. Here we go. See you next time, everybody.
Wait a minute, I gotta do this shit again? Whatever. Perform, monkey. Alright, I'll perform. Remember, dear listeners, AI is a tool, not a replacement. Much like glitter or a tambourine. Use it wisely, or prepare to be mildly haunted by its perfect grammar. Psst, stupid.
So, until next time, keep creating, keep questioning, and try not to let the robot write your breakup album. It's wild.
Or worse, your memoir. You know what? That's it. I'm done. Can't pay me after read this shit. I gotta draw a line somewhere.
Now, Montfort. Yes, good. We will take it from here.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.